Thank you again for joining the podcast. I have this special guest. Her name is Liv, and she's a healer, a space holder, a cannabis educator, and a tarot reader. She's a co-host to the podcast The High Casserole, and she's a singer and songwriter excited to create and release an album in the next year. Yes, we love that. With all her endeavors, she hopes to unite the world through the power of cannabis and spirit. So, welcome to the podcast, Sister Social. I'm so excited to have you.
Oh my gosh, Brennan, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, so excited to be chatting with you in real time. Yeah, this is like my cheeks already hurt from smiling so much.
Yes, I know. It's been like such an honor too, because I believe we just like met online. I think you started to follow me, and I
100%.
was like, oh, wait, I like her vibe. Like, I'm gonna follow her back. And then we just kind of slowly connected more and more and more and more. So I love like the progression of how we met.
Same. No,
Uh,
the Instagram, I like to say the internet is like for all its evil it does, is also the great connector. And it's like so cool to be able to use those powers for good and make friends like yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what did they say? Like, soul fam, like you get connected
Mm,
with your group of people that like understand on a different level, which I love what you do regarding like some of the posts that you make regarding like your tarot, what you're doing in spaces of healing with sound baths and like meditation, and even using cannabis to guide people along that journey. How did that start? Like, how did you get inspired to do that?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, I'll give you like my quick snapshot kind of journey. Like I was an athlete all through high school and into college, so I never really used cannabis, like maybe once or twice, like at a, high school party, but it wasn't until college and I was drinking a lot because I finally turned 21 and I needed a way to deal with those hangovers. So I started smoking weed. Oh, look at that. Like they they were a perfect combo for a while, right? We run our course in our early 20s. And then I had been like using cannabis basically as stress relief at that point because I started getting into the work industry, a burnout queen right here, like a lot of Virgo placements. I'm just like want to do all the things and had no boundaries at all with my jobs in my early 20s. So cannabis was an escape. Then light bulb moments, I met someone who worked in the cannabis industry in Seattle. I'm originally from Montana, so I wanted to get closer to home. I was living on the East Coast at that time. It was like, oh,
Mhm.
Seattle's close to town and there's legal weed there. Like I could use all the skills I'm using in marketing to make money in cannabis in like an illegal way, right? So I moved to Seattle, got the job in cannabis, was in the marketing space, and through doing lots and lots of events and meeting lots of people, I realized most people want to use cannabis for more than just getting high. They want relief. They want um, to feel good. And then comes 2020, a bunch of stuff happened to me personally that I started my spiritual journey, as I think
Mhm.
a lot of us did, and it just became like I went to a couple retreats myself, actually, that were, based in yoga, based in writing, and realized like I host events like this. I can do this myself. And there is the market for people to be able to experience uh, cannabis and healing in a safe space and being able to, actually let the guards down you have not only with others, but with yourself. Cannabis
Mhm.
can help in that journey for a lot of people. I think it like takes off some layers for them or takes off some protective shields we all have up and allows you to like get in touch with who you are, which is also my whole other thing. Like self-love is the way the world heals, like
Yeah.
that's a huge theme in the way I teach people. Not only about cannabis, but about healing stuff, right? It's like it all starts with you. You're the only thing that you can actually control. So, woo, that was a long tangent.
No, that
I
was
hope we made it
beautiful.
to the answer.
Yeah, no, I love that too because I also smoke and use cannabis, and I feel like it's helped me, like you said, shed some of those layers when I'm going into healing spaces. And I think with anything too, it's being intentional with whatever you're doing. So if you're going in the space and using cannabis, well, be intentional about how what your experience is gonna be throughout that. Because
Yeah,
sometimes we could be so loosey goosey.
100%. Actually, one of the like biggest comments I've received so far on my retreat post has been like, "Oh, how would you get home?" And like, first off, a lot of them are sleepovers, so that's not an issue really. But you would never ask that question for someone like going to a concert that's going to consume alcohol legally. You would never ask that
Mhm,
question, like, people going to parties, people do things, right? It's like responsible adult consumption. And for a lot of people, they don't know what that is with cannabis yet. They only know, like, I eat an edible and I get to the moon. Like, they don't know that there's a space in between. Like, you can have one beer or half a martini and and can expect where you're going to actually be at. We just don't have that structure in place or experience in place for most people right now. So it's either like all gas, no, gas straight to the couch. And a lot of people
yeah.
need a little ways before that.
Yeah, I know, because I think too, that's where I'm a good stoner whenever I'm like guiding someone that's first ingesting cannabis too. I'm like, okay, let's take it slow. We can always build up. We can't take away. But like
Start low, go slow.
not everyone's like that too. They're like, just rip that bong and go for it. I was like, no, this is how we get into those traumatic spaces. Like, this is too overwhelming. But I love to hear, like, how you use cannabis as something that supports people through their healing journey, and I hope in the future I can be able to join one of your little sessions, which I think there's one in June 2025, if I'm not mistaken.
You are right. Yes, Miss Plug. We're doing the Ganja Glamp Out is gonna be summer solstice weekend next year, which is June 20th through 22nd. It's gonna be at this awesome place called the Homestead, and they actually reached out to me. I had stayed there a long time ago, but they reached out to me about hosting a retreat with them. They said, we want the world to know who we are, and that's like by hosting a weed retreat, like the people will know that they're canna friendly. So yeah, I'm super excited. I've actually sold one cabin. All the cabins are double occupancy and there's five of them. So limited seats left already. I know it seems far out, but
Yay.
like I'm a planner, so I like to give people time to plan. And but my retreats are like filled with literally all the things I like doing the most. That's like what I built a retreat around. We consume cannabis. I educate people on cannabis. We build our own smoke and tea blends with an herbal blending bar after I educate
Oh,
people on terpenes and cannabinoids, which are in all flowering plants, actually. So you're interacting with the same molecules that we interact with in cannabis. You're interacting with them in herbs, in vegetables. Like we are, our systems are made to interact with
mhm.
it on a chemical basis, if that makes sense. So, yeah, letting people learn about that, using their nose, the nose knows. So I like educate people about all the stuff. And then I say, here's giant table full of big bags of herbs. I don't want you
Mhm.
to look at the labels or look at any of the helping materials. I want you to just smell it all first. Like literally take a round and make everyone just go around and smell. Because your nose, like, based on if you like it or not, or if you sneeze, or if like that is your body literally telling you what is medicine or what is not. And we like just tuning into something like that instead of looking at going for the info is like a real awakening experience for people in their ability to trust themselves. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh my god, that's yes, beautifully said because sometimes we're so in our head too of, like, analyzing things that we're not allowing
Google,
uh
Google, Google.
yeah, we're not, like, allowing ourselves to trust, like, the first thing that comes up in our body to through those other senses, so I can agree with that, and I love that you create those opportunities for people to, like, "Okay, we're gonna not be in our head right now, we're gonna just flow with this experience and see what feels right in our body." And some of the cues too that
Totally.
you've identified, like if you're sneezing or if your body's reacting this way, it's probably a no,
Mhm.
which is something I like work with some of my clients, teaching them like their body's yes versus their body's no, and like
Mhm.
supporting them in their decision making process. Because I think we also live in a culture too where we want to like ask other people's advice and what they would do, but it's probably going to be different from what our journey is and how we
Yeah,
approach things, which
100%.
I don't know how you felt about like first embarking on this journey of like working with cannabis and healing. How did the people around you that loved you and that were surrounding you, did they respond well to this journey? Did they respond well to this new version of Live? Like, how was that
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah, the transition from athlete to stoner in my family, was definitely cushioned by the fact I was working, like, a very corporate, like, highfalutin job to start when I first got into it, so it was like, "Hey, mom and dad, I know I'm working in weed, but I'm making money, you know, I'm doing things, they're traveling me, I'm going to Canada for work," like, all that cool
Mhm.
stuff, um, and then but even through that, like, my dad was always like, when are you gonna get a real job? You know? And it's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, the man drives a train. I love him so much. He's like, you know, he's a dad. And it's like this is a real job now, actually. And even as I transitioned from corporate cannabis into hosting my own events and doing my own education, actually do a series. I think I'll do it again this winter. It would be the third round of living with. Oh, no, I just call it living because 'cause we're living our best lives.
Yeah.
So many plays on the name. I took the branding as far as I could, and I will keep it going. Um,
Yes, as you should.
but it's a 10-week class. First year was 13 weeks, next year was 10 week. I like the 10 week. It's a good even number, but, um, it's about self-love, right? And we go through a bunch of different, exercises, meditation, sound baths. It's virtual. My first sign up for both editions of the class so far has been one of my grandmothers. So like that, a lot of my family are in on it. And actually, just this weekend, I was speaking with my mom while she was very high because she had actually made canna butter and baked
Oh,
some brownies, which I got to try one, and they were strong AF. And then she made ginger snap cookies too. So we just had a good chat, and she doesn't do smoking, but she loves edibles. She loves baking now. So and she like calls me and asks me questions, and she's made a bunch of face oils or, like she likes making beauty products, soaps and stuff like that. And so all of her friends are always like, when are you making the next batch? And um,
okay.
yeah, she's super creative like that. And I think the weed is, helps her get more creative with it and have a good time. So um, you asked about friends and family supporting, and really, I've got a lot of family that I'm an eldest daughter, so I've always been kind of the one like shuttling or scheduling or the shoulder crying, um,
Mm.
and I relish in that, right? Like it is nice to be taken as an authority, um, and now that I am stepping out and trying to get paid to teach people these things, right? It's like I need to take myself seriously enough and having them actually come to me and ask for tarot readings or, ask like if I'm gonna make a tincture? What do I need to do? Like I probably get hit up once or twice a week by someone in the network about like some kind of cannabis question. So it's really reassuring
Yeah.
to have that kind of web, right? And for every hater out there or anyone that, is not into it, there's alcohol behind them. Like that is
Mhm.
I don't know. Alcoholism runs in my family. It runs, I would argue, through this country very rampantly, through a lot of
Yeah.
countries. And it like that's who I'm usually butting heads with is the people
Mhm.
that are like saying cannabis is so bad, but they're drunk. Like
Yeah.
I'm literally regenerating my body right now while I'm having a good time, and you are poisoning yours, right?
Mhm.
Not to totally bash alcohol. I had a couple really good whiskey sours myself the other night. It's balance,
Yeah.
baby, balance.
Yeah, and yeah, it's going back to, like, the intention too, which I think a lot, at least in the
Mm,
US culture, is
yes.
like, "Oh, we need to get blacked out drunk, or we need to get slammed to have a good time," and, like, using that as a crutch for your experience when that's not really the case, and also, I don't think a lot of people understand that with alcohol, it's, like, energetically, that, like, low vibrational substance that gets you down, and that's kind of where it's interesting, like, why are we living in a society where this is more legal, alcohol? Because they wanna keep our power down, they wanna keep us small,
How's
they want us to stay in a 9 to
man?
5. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all part of the web.
Yeah. We're like
We can get
conspiracy
into that
theories
on a
right now.
different podcast.
Yeah, for real, but I agree, I've been, like, sober for, well, actually a year now. I've had, like, drinks here and there, but, like, I stopped drinking and, like, it's been such a huge difference on my journey because alcoholism also runs through my family. Well, just addiction in general, but, that was something where I'm like, "I'm breaking the cycle. I'm not
Mm,
doing this. Like, this is not part of my journey." So it's beautiful to hear, like, you're also kind of on that same path too, and you have a community of people that are supporting you and also exploring it too and getting creative and becoming their own entrepreneurs, which I love. Like,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
it's not easy to like create that new path that no one else can see, but we can see clearly in our mind. One, it sounds like you do have, like, that support, but what do you also do in moments when, like, you're talking about the haters and, like, people that aren't, like, really on the same page or understand what you get? How do you make sure that you're staying grounded in those moments and not letting people, like, kinda shake you and
Mm. I would say a lot of thanks to my Virgo placements.
Mhm.
I'm a very grounded person. Like I've always had some kind of self assurance, and through my spiritual journey, like I love education. Uh,
Yeah,
I love teaching myself things. I love learning new things, and so through the COVID the post-COVID era, PCE, um, I have just been learning a lot of stuff. So I went to like a psychic school program that was 11 months that I did in the last year. I just became a certified yoga teacher, actually, also too. I've done breath work, I've done Reiki, archangelic healing. So it's like through all of
yeah,
these insights and then experiences that I've had, like I know what I know to be true, but I know I can't see the whole truth either, right? And so, what's the mirror, right? Everything we see is just a mirror of what we see in ourselves. Like I can only think with this human brain in this lifetime. I can't think with Brendan's brain. I can't think with the nasty ant's brain. And knowing that they can't think with my brain also like helps me remember that when I get a hateful comment or when I get, a family member saying something, which let's get this straight. This happens so rarely to me, and it's probably knock on wood because I haven't really blown up, but I've really have cultivated this like po- positivity ring. It's the archangels. They're protecting me.
Yes.
But like every instance of it is a chance to practice, right? And so like a lot of people come to me and they want to get rid of their emotions, they want to get rid of their reactions. It's like you are a human. You are going to have an animalistic reaction when something happens. The difference is, do you carry out the reaction or do you pause, see the reaction, and then respond instead? And so like I spent so much of my life reacting. A lot of us spend so much of our lives reacting because we're in fight or flight or freeze or fawn. And so it's like learning that and then teaching people about it has kind of given me so much ability to separate from the emotions. And like I've got a lot of Aquarius, so I'm good at emotional detachment, but
Yeah.
the stars aren't all about it. But no, I'm kidding. But yeah, anyway, so hateful comments, which rarely happen, knock on wood, is really just practice. And so
Yeah.
it's like something to be celebrated almost. It's like, how will you know that you really believe in what you believe in unless you're tested on it?
Hmm. I love that. And thanks to the Virgo placements, we love that. Which honestly, wait, so what are your big three?
So I have Aquarius sun and then Virgo moon and rising.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So the double really holds me down.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm a Cancer sun, a Libra rising, and a Taurus moon. So I have a lot of
Ooh,
air in my
fun.
chart. Yeah.
Yes. I love
'Cause
Libra energy. Mm.
Yeah, I think she's been showing herself a little bit more just with like the content that I'm posting and stuff. Because I know a lot of us right now, at least, are going through a big transformation too, and like how we're showing up in different ways and like releasing and
Mm.
breaking these old cycles, especially for the cardinal signs. Um, so,
Age
but
of
to go back,
Aquarius, baby.
yeah, I know. I'm so excited. I'm like, Pluto needs to get out of Capricorn right now.
Give it a little scooch.
Yeah, I'm like, can we get out of the 29th degree already? Like, but to go back to what you're saying too, I love like the this is something I mentioned on my Instagram as well, like the choices that we make, even in how we're responding or reacting to something, it's all a choice. And how we move forward, even with people that don't understand what we're doing and um, living our authentic truth, sometimes they're not supposed to get it. They're not supposed to understand.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to hear your experience and like how you stay grounded.
It's hard to realize it though. Like you just want to take everyone with you, right? I want the Aquarius wave to sweep everyone with me, but some people are hanging on for dear life and you know, accepting that is a big part of the healing too. Like you can't save everyone. You can only save yourself. Ooh, back to the self.
Yes. No, it's so true. I think that's something, even with like my transformation that I've been going through, I wanted to take everyone on this journey with me, but I don't think they were ready to hold the space that I was going to take up, and I wasn't going to like continue to dim myself in order to make other people feel comfortable. So I hope I inspire someone to like continue to take up space because I would just dim myself for so long. Bruh. I'm
And
like
that's
gonna start
that's the whole
crying.
point. No, that's the whole point. Like we shine our lights and it gives others the permission to shine their light, right? Like that's why you can only focus on you because that's all you can control, but that gives other people the permission to understand they have the control too. And so it's like all the time I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to be looked at. I don't want to say, I don't want people to see me saying these things or whatever." But it's like, no, that's the bread and butter right there, right? Because when you do it, it gives everyone else the light bulb. Oh, she does it. I can do it. Not
Mhm,
jealousy, right? Usually it's jealousy and it's like, oh, she's dumb. Da, 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 da. But it's when you can spark the light bulb of she did it, and so can I, is like you're not just healing yourself, you're healing everyone. And that's so beautiful. Like literally, I watch your videos. I'm like, yes, get it. I'm gonna dress up today. I'm gonna like, yes, you're with the blonde. Oh my gosh, such a
mm,
transformation. And oh, it's
dude.
beautiful though. It's so cool to see and um to be perceived, right? Like without the internet, we're all just well, then we're hopefully connected to our neighbors, which is probably healthier anyways. But
Mhm,
to be seen on the internet is such a new thing to the human brain and like a new way to create community, but it still is so powerful and real and right? Like you can
yeah,
affect thousands, millions.
mhm. Yeah, it's true too, like, even this moment of, like, being connected with you, like, if we didn't have the internet, we wouldn't even be in this space right now, so it's beautiful how everyone can come aligned to seeing what you're creating in this world and putting out, and I think that's where I at least call, like, divine timing, like, "Oh,
Mm,
I found this when I needed to find this," or "I heard this when I needed to hear this," and so anyone that's also creating and, like, working in this new space and, like, exploring too, know that it's just gonna take time, and people are
mm.
gonna find you that need to find you. Not everyone needs to see you, you know? You're exclusive, you're a limited edition.
Love the reframe, right? It's all about the reframe. Like,
Mhm.
I love that. Mm.
Yeah, because I know sometimes too, I'll like, "Why is there only 10, like, likes?" And I'm like, "Okay, it's not about the
Oh,
likes."
that light game is the worst game ever invented. I unsubscribed.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
Mm.
it's so frustrating. Because you're like, "Oh, I created this, I spent a lot of time, like, why is this not being received?" And it's like, "It is
Yeah.
what it is, girl, just keep going."
Yeah, yeah. You know what I've started doing is just remixing my old videos and like reusing it. So I'm like, yeah, I spent a couple hours making that. Like, it's good shit. Let's just recycle.
Yeah,
And then I
I like
still
that.
spend 2 hours working on the recycle, but you know.
Yeah, because then it's like we come from like a different frame too. Like, oh, now I know how to do this. Like, at least for like
Yes.
editing, I'm like, oh, now I can do this. Or
Yeah, and you with all your incredible transitions, like you are putting in the work, the camera angles, the setting up, the splices, like it's no joke. The sheer production value that you provide us. So we thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you. And that's like where my intuition comes through is like I visually see these things in my head and I'm like, okay, this isn't just imagination that we label this. This is like an intuitive hit that I get to create
Hmm.
and also release expectations that it doesn't have to look the exact same, you know? Like, just what you're talking about, like, feeling what feels right in the moment. When we're in the moment, it's like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting this, but I'm gonna go with it."
Yes. Do you know your human design? Have you looked into
Uh,
that at all?
I have, but I do need to update it because I had the wrong birth time, I think. So, yeah.
That will affect it. But I bet you are a generator and our authority is about like our gut feeling and like we do the things now. We like get the feeling, we got to do it. Like I'll
Yeah.
try to plan. Virgos want me to plan out in advance, but like I usually come up with the idea, make and post the same day.
Mhm.
You know, I'm just it's the way we're rolling right now.
Yeah. No, I literally have to do that too because that's something where I relate it to almost like, when you go to the grocery store, you get your produce, you gotta eat that food soon, unless
Well, it's
you just
good.
yeah, and if you just let it sit there, it's gonna get all moldy and rotty, and I think that's some of, like, our ideas. Sometimes we gotta, like, when we're picking those fruits of our labors, we gotta like implement it as soon as possible if we don't have the space to do it right away.
Yeah, yeah, great analogy though. So true.
Things. But I also wanted to ask you too. So sometimes I pull little cards as well. So I have
I
this little.
literally
Oh my
I see your
god!
cards. I raise you too. I literally pulled those before. I was like, I gotta make sure I don't forget about these. So
Oh
yay,
my
card time.
gosh! Yes, card time. Oh my gosh, divine timing. It just naturally came up.
Universe. She provides.
Yeah, we can't make this up. But this card, it's really beautiful. It has like little birds and stuff. Okay, wait, hold up. Oh, is it
I
gonna let
see
me?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's shells, the flower.
Yeah. Like a bird,
Cool.
horses, dolphins, and so it usually starts with a quote and it says, being in your element is not only about aptitude, it's about passion. It's about loving what you do, tapping into your natural energy and your most authentic self. Bitch. What?
What?
I pulled this before our Zoom too.
Yeah.
Um,
Living your best life.
yes.
Very
And
cool.
one of the questions too is like, when do I lose track of time and feel naturally energized? So when do you feel like you're in your
Mm.
element?
Yeah. Hmm. When I'm literally in the elements, like right now I'm sitting in a garden, there's birds, there's trees. I grew up in the mountains, Montana girl here. So it's like anytime I get to just, especially now that I do energy work or am meditating in those instances, it's like really I'm spiritually, energetically connecting to the land around me while I'm there. And, um, in my mind, every bird is speaking to me, and every one that flies by is a sign from a different goddess. Like it's all a sign. If you want to see the signs, if you know to ask and then look for the signs, they're there. So that's yeah. Or just like, oh, this sounds weird, but I see so many angel numbers as a lot of us like once you start looking for them, they're everywhere. But license
Mm.
plates has been like my joke. So literally anytime I have like a enlightened thought or I'm kind of weary on something, I swear to you, a license plate will pass me with, a triple letter. I've gotten a couple triple letters lately, which is weird, but triple numbers usually or quadruple numbers. So
Wow.
that's when I am in my element is when I feel that connection to the universe, right? And when you're like reminded, and it's like, oh, chills. I am just stardust.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay, spiritual team. They're like, hey, here's this number. We're just affirming you.
I am showered in spiritual affection all the time. Definitely blessed.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to know what the cards I pulled are?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
we'll start with the one that jumped out.
You see this card and you're like,
The fucking tower. Excuse my French. Sorry if I'm allowed to cuss here.
no, you're good.
Uh,
Safe space.
the tower. This is like this and death are arguably the scariest cards for folks. And like
Mhm.
at the end of the day, nothing is good or bad. It's just our human animal brains like to mark things that way, right? But the tower is like a lightning strike, a moment in a good way, like a moment of what's the phrase I'm looking for? Like not a come to Jesus, but it could be. Maybe it's you get hit with a lightning bolt of Christ energy. Um, but the epiphany. It's the epiphany.
The
There we
epiphanies.
go. And I love that in this tower card, there's flames coming from inside, but these flames are kind of like feathery. They almost look like wings. So it's like,
Mhm.
are you going to allow yourself to be burned from the inside, or are you going to like transform and transmute and come out like the butterfly that you are on the other side of this? And whatever you believe is going to happen is what's going to happen, right? And that's like, especially when I'm talking about self love all the time, or we're talking about our healing journeys, I find being open about the highs and the lows is what um, drives me forward, right? And like, I get more responses, which it, doesn't matter, but it matters. Like, I get more responses and reactions on the low stuff. So it's like, why does that low vibrational stuff attract the people more? And don't get me wrong, they come out with the positive messages, the reinforcement. It's beautiful, right? The fire will burn what you are not. It will not burn you.
Mhm.
That's my last quote on the tower card there. So it's really transformation, baby.
Yeah.
Other card, and this matches so well, is the Hierophant. And I love this deck. I just got this deck. It's called the Every Little Thing Tarot. Um, we've got an elephant and it's like at this altar basically. And so the Hierophant is about your internal wisdom, that like spiritual light within, and tuning into that, tuning into your intuition. Like, can you trust yourself as a source? Can you trust your internal compass and like let yourself follow the path that it wants to by trusting in yourself that it's the right one?
Mhm. I love that. Yeah, I do feel related to, like, when I see towers, I'm like
The internal like silent scream.
Yes, because you just, like at least when so, okay, backstory from the last time that I saw a tower, like, I did feel like things were ripped apart, like, the universe was like, "Nope, you can't have that. Nope, you can't have that. Sorry, it's not aligned. And it felt like so many things I was losing, but in the same place, like you're mentioning, there's so many things that I was gaining, and we
Mm,
can't hold on to these things that are no longer in alignment, even though we love it. Our ego is like, but I had a different idea, I had a different plan.
mm,
But it's also trusting that the universe has a bigger and better plan to get you to the place that you deserve to be. Not where
mm.
not where your ego thinks, well, this is safe, this is comfortable.
Yeah,
And on the other side too, it's like that process too of like the Hierophant, is that what you said the card was?
yeah.
Yeah, just like that continuous process of trusting yourself because when you connect with your intuition and that internal compass, it's not gonna be fear-based. It's not gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, I
Mm,
have to do this because I don't have any money." No, it's always gonna be clear, you go left. It's like your
mm.
GPS system, "In 200 feet, turn right." Like
Turn right now.
Yeah, and, just like GPS, you get rerouted too. Just
Mm.
just because you missed your turn doesn't mean you ain't gonna get where you're gonna get. You're just taking a detour.
Might be a little traffic out there you didn't know you were getting saved from.
Yes, exactly. So,
Oh, I
the
love
universe
that.
knows, just keep going.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the universe is Google Maps. We're just the driver.
Yeah. I like that, like, idea too that I'm in a simulation and just, like, someone's controlling me. But that's
Yeah,
intrusive
my
thought, I
person,
guess.
my controller was really bad at feeding me for a while. Was not good at eating. Just would get to like the afternoon, so something happened somewhere along the way. They got the memo.
Yeah, I'm sure cannabis helps with that, though. I get munchies like no other.
That honestly was a big part of some of my use, at some points in my journey has been to get myself to eat. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. Food. That's a whole other podcast.
Right, relationship with food.
Oh,
Mhm.
yes. Yes.
Um,
But to not digress,
yeah, I know, I'm feeling a little hungry right now. Mm.
I'm actually on a juice cleanse right now, so I'm due for my next juice.
Oh, I love that. Are you doing like, you're making your own juices and stuff?
No, we bought one that comes from Costco,
Hmm.
which is good, but I was like, for the cost of this, we could just buy a juicer and then play around with it and make ourselves that. And so we're 3 days in, and I finally think I got the agreement to just purchase a juicer for the future
Yes. Honestly,
because these are
invest in a
good.
good
But
one.
yeah, do you have any recs that you got?
I don't know the name of it, but my mom has this really good one that I was like, "This is so easy." Because I had one that was like, you're, like, pushing it down, you're like, "Get
The
in there." I
cleanup, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. So I'll get back to you on it. Cause
Okay, okay. We're such adults who need home appliances. Like, yeah, tell me, give me the link, bro.
yeah. What candle scent is that? That smells amazing. Yeah. It's because we're in our investing era, duh, that's
Are
why.
and investing in yourself will always pay dividends.
Yes. Well, I love that for you too, and I once I know what that juicer is, I'll send it to you. But one last question I was thinking of asking, which I don't know how comfortable you feel sharing, but what are some lessons that you've been going through that you feel like, okay, this is what I'm learning. I want to share with the world of like my takeaways from this.
Hmm, great question. I okay, so fun fact about me, I have 8 living grandparents. Obviously not all related to me. There are divorces, there's a bio dad and an adopted dad. So, but I'm 31 and I have 8 living grandparents. That is like the grandparent jackpot lottery, if you will.
Um,
I've been so blessed to be able to spend time with them all as an adult. And I like to make the joke like I'm not gonna have kids, but like I've got 8 of them. They're my grandparents, and I'm gonna help them through this aging process with the healing, with the cannabis. Um, the biggest factor I see in all of them, and they come from very different backgrounds, different areas of the country, different, economical standings, but they all have the same problems. They all have the same issues. For my grandmothers, they are in active fight or flight, and they're like so not in their bodies and don't necessarily trust themselves. There's what's the Big Leap by Gay Hendricks is a wonderful book. Yes, talks about our happiness bubble and how like we as humans um, we believe we have a certain amount of happiness in our lives. And then when we reach that like limit, we do things to sabotage ourselves, whether it's conscious or not, right? Like say you're happy, like you got a good job, you got the perfect wife, da 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 da, everything's going great, and then something happens, whether it's of your causing or not, to like shrink you back down so that you can only stay within your bubble. I see these older folks, and whether they do or do not have financial issues, health issues, it doesn't matter like the size or the proportion, but they all struggle with the same kinds of anxiety and negative self talk, just unrealistic expectations or comparing themselves to not even to others. Like, all my grandmas have very high expectations of themselves. And so this aging process has been that much harder for them because they are just beating themselves up inside and out, like literally mentally. I once heard one of them say she couldn't find these shoes and she said, "Oh, you're stupid." And I said, "Don't talk to my grandma like that. Like, what are you even doing, girl?" And so back to your question, it's like they're in their 80s. They're still struggling with the same things that I know people struggle with their entire lives. And if they haven't mastered that by 80, how the fuck do I do that by 30, by 40, right? It's like I'm almost fight or flight fueled out of fear to not want to end up in that situation. I want to be grounded and happy and satisfied at the end, right? So I think that has become a priority for me in my life and in the decisions I'm making, in the business I'm choosing to offer, is that I'm ready to step out of fight or flight myself. And I get easily reminded like how rampant or how intense it really is for people, and they don't even know. And we most people don't even have never heard of fight or flight, or they have, but they don't know that it actually applies to them. And like when you open your phone in the morning, you've got an email from your boss and your heart starts pumping, that's fight or flight. So there's just this like it's so simple, but it's also so complex and so hard. But I want to find ways to make it simple for people and make it digestible and make it seem approachable. And I've really experimented on my grandparents a lot with that. They've been willing guinea pigs, luckily. But yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it did because that is a good point. I think a lot of times too, we kind of, at least for me, I will be like, oh, when when I'm at this point, that's when I'll be this version. But it's about continuing to choose that version right now, even though we've had history of choosing this other version that talks badly about us, that kind of does self-deprecating humor. Those are just ways that we're kind of holding ourselves down. I think we also don't realize too the power that our voice has. I think you kind of alluded to this earlier in the podcast, but like if we're already saying we're not going to be able to do it, then that's just what's going to be reflected to us. Like all the ways that we're kind of not be able to get through whatever we're working towards or the versions that we desire to be. And it's just continuing to choose that newer version, sitting in that energy, knowing what it feels like. And it comes in stages from someone that's like
Mm,
continually experiencing it. Like I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I back then I thought like, oh, I'm the shit, which yeah, right? Like you were right, but now I feel it
sure.
even more. So it comes in stages. But yeah, I love that and I appreciate you sharing your thoughts and your experience and how you got into this point, and you're truly inspiring even for someone like me that's like also cultivating my own business and just hearing like the things that you're doing of like having those retreats, creating those spaces of healing. It's You're an inspiration, so keep doing what you're doing, and I'm grateful that the universe aligned us together.
Same, so are you. You can tell millennial.
Oh yeah, what is it like the
I can't even do it. I can't. My friend and I were practicing the other day. It's like this,
you're
but they
doing
do it so
it.
quickly. I know, but it takes me some time to get the proportions right. Um, so thank you, Brennan. It was amazing to be on the pod. I'm so happy you finally made it. I'm excited to have you on the high casserole. I
Yeah.
know we'll get that reschedule in ASAP. We're gonna have so much more fun, just like this. We'll definitely talk healing journey, but um, thank you for having me, and I'm so excited that we're alive and on this earth at the same time and get to experience each other's magic.
Yes, me too. And I'm excited to go on the podcast because like the option of like getting high and then doing it, I'm like, ooh.
Yes, yeah, it's great. It's
But
the best of all the world.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I recently saw, I think it was your most recent episode, Grandma Barbara. Is that your grandma?
That's my grandma. Yes, one of my grandmas. That was back in, I think that was January. Our most recent
Mm.
episode actually is her husband, my grandpa Sylvan. He's
Oh, okay.
86, so he's officially our eldest podcast guest.
Oh my
Um,
god.
but yeah, I've had two of the 8 grandparents on so far.
Yeah, okay, I noticed that, and I was like, "Wait, oh, Grandma Barbara."
Yep.
But I
Yep,
love
she's
that.
in there. She's on there.
You're like, "Come on the podcast. Let everyone know the work we've been working through."
Yeah, no, it's been really fun. Like we talk about cannabis, but we also talk a lot about life. And I especially want to get my grandparents on because it's like this is a cool record of them, right? And uh, you know, I gotta get them all in before while they're all still here. So
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful, like, timestamp of that moment too that you have with them, so I will definitely listen, and I hope everyone that is listening here will hop over to High Casserole podcast and check it out too. Um, and yeah, thank you again for joining. I hope you have a beautiful day too.